We have more breaking news at this hour. In fact, Governor Gavin Newsom posted just a short time ago. President Trump is sending hundreds of California National Guard to Oregon, and he is ready to fight it. MSNBC Pentagon correspondent Priya Sridhar, who is standing by for us at the Norfolk Naval Station, where the president is attending a ship ceremony for the 250th anniversary of the Navy. You're joining us now to talk about this. So first, let's talk about what Trump spoke about earlier relative to Portland, Priya. What did he say, and what more do we know about that deployment?
Yeah, that's right, Alex. Well, we know that the Trump administration has already appealed that federal judge in Oregon's decision to essentially halt the deployment of 200 Oregon National Guardsmen for a period of 14 days to the Ninth Circuit Court. We also know, as you mentioned, that according to Governor Newsom, the Trump administration has actually decided to federalize 300 California National Guardsmen and send them to Oregon. I'm going to read the tweet that he just posted online. He said, after a federal court blocked his attempt to federalize the Oregon National Guard, Donald Trump is deploying 300 California National Guard personnel into Oregon. They are on their way there now. We're taking this fight back to court. The public cannot stay silent in the face of such reckless and authoritarian conduct by the president of the United States. And the president did address that Portland judge's decision at the recent gaggle on the South Lawn, saying that this is a judge that he appointed himself and that they should be ashamed of their decision. Take a listen to a little bit more about what he had to say about what's going on in Portland.
Portland is burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives. That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening.
The approach has been aborted.
Now, just last week, President Trump and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, addressed a host of senior military leaders who flew in from all over the world to Marine Corps base Quantico. And there, President Trump said that the United States military should use dangerous American cities as a training ground. And that's exactly what he's doing with these different National Guard deployments in places like Memphis, Portland, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. He claims that he was able to clean up the crime in Washington, D.C. in a matter of 12 days, and that's what he's hoping to do in these other cities, too. As far as what exactly those 300 National Guardsmen from California are actually going to do, that remains unknown.
What the president's saying, he's lying. Speaker Johnson's lying. They're lying to the American people. It's shameful. Period. Full stop. They know that. I mean, they can't even hide that fact. You can see their physiology and almost a smile on their face when they suggest that. So I reject the premise of their assertions, period, full stop.
Can you explain how it's different for Medi-Cal?
States have the ability to do what states do, independent of the federal contributions. And so they're completely, I mean, I guess they're trying to connect their displeasure with what California and many other states do with state resources in this space. And that is a very separate conversation. It's a separate topic. It has nothing to do with their assertions in relationship to the government shutdown.
You've seen it across the board. People are scared to death of this guy. And it's the appalling silence. It's the complicity. You're seeing the most successful, wealthiest people scared to death of this guy. It makes me sick. Is it worth it to you to watch this 249 years just vanish in real time? She asked about the Supreme Court. It's part of that. I'm old enough to remember in the history books this notion of the enduring values of our founding fathers, the best of the Roman Republic, Greek democracy, popular sovereignty. It's trying to rig the elections. This notion of co-equal branches of government. I said supine Congress, supine Supreme Court. Rolling over to this guy. It's no longer the rule of law. It's increasingly the rule of Don. It is a serious moment in world history. And we're losing our moral authority by the hour as he continues to exercise his formal authority by the minute.
Breaking news with more reaction to the White House deploying 300 California National Guard troops to Oregon. And that state's Democratic governor, Tina Kotek, says some arrived last night and more are expected today. California Governor Gavin Newsom said he's going to fight Trump's move in court. And joining me now is California Congressman Jimmy Gomez. He is a member of the Ways and Means Committee. And Congressman, I welcome you back to the show. And I'm curious, sir, your response to the president sending troops from your state to handle an alleged crime problem in another, and your response to Trump telling top military leaders that U.S. cities should be used as training grounds to fight the, quote, enemy within?
Well, first, this is something that we knew Trump would do. He would continuously abuse his power and the power to deploy and federalize National Guard all over the country. And that's what he's done in California and across the nation. The move to send California National Guard is, I think, a violation of the spirit of the judgment that was ruled by one of his own appointees, that the conditions to deploy the National Guard or the military to Portland do not exist. There's no insurrection going on. So what he's done is ignored a court order, violating the spirit of the law. And if he continues to do it, he's going to do it again and again and again. And when it comes to when he had that, I would say, just disgusting display addressing our leaders, our military leaders from all over the globe. It was just an abuse of power, but also says that we're not serious. And then trying to say that the enemy is the American people itself, U.S. citizens, that is dangerous. And what I think he's doing is he's trying to normalize having troops on the ground. He's trying to normalize saying that the enemy within should be attacked. It should be contained, even though there's no such enemy. And he's going to use the military to do it. I'm proud that the military, they were obeying orders. They were there to listen to the speech, but at least they didn't react because they know what he's doing is wrong and is not what America or the military stands for.
Let's go from there out of the government shutdown, because besides restoring health care subsidies, the shutdown fight is Democrats' response to critics who say they're not doing enough to oppose President Trump's agenda. Is the party's message strong enough to convince voters that this fight is worth all the pain caused by this shutdown? And how long can Democrats stay united as this shutdown drags on? It is now day 5 of the government shutdown, with congressional leaders doubling down, blaming the other party for what could be a lengthy stalemate. The Democratic House Minority Leader today saying the White House and Republicans are refusing negotiations to reopen the government, while the House Speaker claimed the shutdown is just a Democratic ploy to help Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's reelection bid. Take a listen.
The last time there was a conversation with Republican leadership was in the White House meeting last Monday. And unfortunately, since that point in time, Republicans, including Donald Trump, have gone radio silent. And what we've seen is negotiation through deep fake videos, the House canceling votes, and of course, President Trump spending yesterday on the golf course. That's not responsible behavior.
They're not serious. This is not a serious negotiation. They're doing this to get political cover because Chuck Schumer is afraid that he won't win his next reelection bid to the Senate because he's going to be challenged by a Marxist in New York, because that's the new popular thing out there.
Joining us now is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Congressman Robert Garcia of California. He is a member of the Oversight and Transportation and Infrastructure Committees. Welcome back to the broadcast. So let's look at the recent polls, which show Americans are blaming President Trump and Republicans for the shutdown, but a significant share of voters aren't sure who's responsible. Democrats' position isn't just about extending ACA tax credits. It's about showing voters they are fighting back against the Trump agenda. Why is the shutdown fight the right tactic? Can Democrats still win the messaging battle if they don't get their health care concessions?
People need to be very clear about what's about to happen and why we're in this fight. Over the next few months, folks are going to start receiving letters in the mail. They're going to be notified by their insurance companies, by their healthcare providers, that their premiums are about to skyrocket. In some cases, they're going to double, or even further than that, their costs are going to go up. And so at a moment where people are struggling to pay for housing, to pay for groceries, the last thing that the American public, working class families need is for their healthcare costs to go up, which is why we are so adamant at this moment that Donald Trump and Republicans do not allow these Affordable Care Act subsidies to expire. That is why we are willing to take on Donald Trump, to stand firm and stand tall. And Senate Democrats shouldn't give Donald Trump one single vote to pass his budget that not only takes away and harms healthcare, but gives more to billionaires and large corporations in this country, which is exactly why we've got to stand tall in this moment.
It was suggested earlier on the broadcast that we've got about 3 weeks or so until people start getting those notices and open them up and go, what? Which means Democrats have to hang on at least that long. Is that a fair assessment?
Look, personally, I'm hanging on as long as possible here. We have to stand tall. Donald Trump has been all about terrorizing communities, sending the National Guard and the military into American cities, kidnapping people off of our streets, taking rights away. He is using the government to weaponize and fight his own citizens in this country.
Breaking news is shaking the nation tonight. In a dramatic escalation, President Trump has announced the deployment of 300 California National Guard troops to Oregon, bypassing a federal judge's earlier ruling that blocked the use of Oregon's own Guard forces. Governor Gavin Newsom fired back, vowing to fight this move in court, calling it a reckless overreach of presidential power. At the heart of the controversy is Portland, a city the president claims is burning to the ground with insurrectionists and Antifa wreaking havoc, a description sharply contested by local officials and observers. This deployment raises serious questions about the limits of federal authority. Trump argues that these troops are necessary to restore order, drawing parallels to his claim of cleaning up Washington, D.C. in just 12 days. But critics, including Democratic lawmakers and military experts, warn this sets a dangerous precedent, normalizing the use of military force against U.S. citizens and turning American cities into training grounds for domestic operations. Congressman Jimmy Gomez called it a clear abuse of power, emphasizing that there is no insurrection and that the president is disregarding court orders, undermining the rule of law itself. Meanwhile, the political drama extends to Washington, where the government shutdown drags into its 5th day. Democrats are doubling down, stressing the importance of protecting Affordable Care Act subsidies as families face skyrocketing healthcare costs. They argue that standing firm is not just about politics, it's about defending working-class Americans from harm while holding the administration accountable. From the streets of Portland to the halls of Congress, the story is about power, accountability, and the limits of executive authority. As California troops head north and families brace for the impact of the shutdown, the nation watches a high-stakes struggle unfold, one that could redefine the balance between federal power, state sovereignty, and citizens' rights for years to come.